I'm super excited. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Serena, your host, and I am sitting here with Immie and Kim, and today we're going to talk about obstacle course races. So you guys please introduce yourselves.
My name is Immie. I am an avid Spartan racer. Started racing back in 2015, and gosh, now it's 2019. That's crazy. So I am the co-owner of a strength and conditioning and personal training gym called Exago Strong and Fit. And that's where all the magic happens. We do all our Spartan training when we're not running out on the trail and get fit for race season.
I want to come. I was looking at it online, and I want to come. I'm going to be there.
All right, you're welcome anytime.
Okay.
And my name is Kim. I'm not an avid Spartan racer yet, but I'm getting there. I think I did my first sprint run in 2017, and then worked my way up to 3 races, and now 7 this year.
That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, getting there.
Very adventurous. I like it. So I've only done one back in 2015. So,
Why no more since then?
Well, not really any reason in particular, but I plan on doing more. We were talking about doing the stadium and then the mud one that's coming up as well. So I want to do those. I know my husband will be super into doing them, and I'll do it. I will. I enjoyed it immensely. It was a ton of fun. So I don't really know why I haven't done any more, but I like it because I get to wear the t-shirt.
Yeah, bragging rights.
People ask about it all
And you
the
get
time.
the cool medals.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, they're all hanging up upstairs. It's so awesome.
You're
And I
like
keep
Mr. T.
my headband like on the seat of my car.
Oh,
like
yes.
the headrest
That's a
of
good
my
idea.
car. Yeah, and I'm planning on putting all of them on there. So I think it's neat. Okay, so you said you started back in 2015. What was it that made you want to do this?
Well, a couple of friends of mine asked me if I wanted to go hill running with them because they were training for Spartan Race, and I said, "Oh no,
thanks.
I don't run up hills. I only run on the flat. No thanks." And then a couple of other friends signed up for this race that they were training for, and I started thinking about it. I thought, all right, I'll go with some friends. And so I ran with a couple of friends, and that was my very first one. And after that, I was just bitten by the bug.
Yeah.
I just was like, when's the next one?
Yeah,
Let's sign up.
and it just like takes you over.
Yeah.
And it's so awesome. So now, I say local, that's about as specific as I'll get. My first one was in North Carolina. Where was your first one?
It was actually in California because I used to live there. So it was in Monterey.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So very different climate-wise to racing out on
absolutely.
the East Coast. I remember when we pulled up and parked in the car park, it was cold, it was misty. But that really is, for me, the ideal race conditions. I like to run in cold weather. And I'm not saying like really cold, but
when
50
it's hot,
degrees it feels pretty good to me. Because then when you heat up, when you're running, you're the
It makes a big
temperature.
difference, yeah.
Yeah.
And what about you? Where was your first?
So my first one was in Maryland. It's the DC Mechanicsville one, and so that's a mud one. And then same type of situation, like you just I got bit by the bug. Then you want to do better, because I think that one, it was a sprint, and it took me, I don't know, almost like 2 hours to do it, and I'm like, I'm really not ready for that. I was not prepared at all. So then I wanted to do it again to see if I could improve and improve and improve. So you get bit by the bug.
Is racing the clock. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you run your races, how many races would you say that you have ran since you started?
Maybe 25.
Wow.
Because
In
I
4
ran
years?
I ran 15 last year, and then in the years prior to that, I only maybe ran 2 or 3 per year. So last year was my first year of running competitively and seriously. So yeah, 15 last year. I have 20 that I've planned out for this year. So we'll see how it goes.
What's the difference between running just because you decided, hey, I'm just going to sign up for this, and running competitively?
There's a huge amount of pressure when you run in the elite category. The rules are different, so you can't accept any help for any of the obstacles. So whereas It's so much fun to run with people, and you run together, and there's a
Yeah.
great group feeling. And I love the camaraderie of OCR racing. If you get to a wall and you can't get over it, you know someone's going to be there
Yeah.
to give you a leg up, you know, or to push you over the wall or something. They're there to help you. So you don't get any of that in the elite racing. There's still the same camaraderie, but being on the start line in that box, and you know you're friends, but you're also competitive with each other. So the stress level, I would say, is much higher. But when the race is over, it's like, oh, we're all friends again. It feels so good when it's over and everyone's hugging each other and high-fiving, and whew, it's finished.
Now, I'm noticing your shirt, is that for your competitive race?
Yeah, so this year I joined the Spartan Pro team, and I went down to the event that was just recently in Jacksonville. So they held a media event for the pro team on the Friday, where they gave out all of our jerseys and our headbands, and they basically did a photo shoot for us. And then there was racing on Saturday and Sunday, which I couldn't participate in because I had to work that weekend in North Carolina. But when I got my shirt, I was like, oh, you've printed it wrong. Because it's supposed to say GBR and have the British flag on it.
Oh, no.
Because I have dual citizenship, so I was allowed to pick which one do you want. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go for Britain because, you know, that's where I was born. So I had put United Kingdom down, and I'm thinking they probably just saw United and thought States.
We're all very done over here. It's okay.
So there is a new shirt coming, I'm told, which has the British flag on it. But for now, I'm representing the US.
Darn.
And I like your shirt as well. And you were talking about having the trifecta, and that's what is your on your, because mine is only red because this is a sprint shirt. I've only run the sprint, but you've got the trifecta. Now, what does that mean?
So last year I did my first trifecta. So it's when you run a sprint, a super, and a beast within a year. So you can't span them out.
Okay.
Yep, so you have to run all three within the year. So it's the first time I did that. And when I signed up last year, I had only signed up to do a sprint and a super, and it was a last minute decision to do the beast. I was very on the fence. So I'm like, I don't think I can do 12 to 14 miles. Because doing the 8 was pushing it.
Yeah.
But then, like, Immie and my husband were like, you can do it.
Well, I mean,
And I'm so glad I did
Yeah.
afterwards, because it makes you realize, like, you can. If you set your mind to it, you can do it.
Right, because your
And
mind
I
is.
get this cool t-shirt.
We always talk about how anyone will do anything for a t-shirt.
Yeah. Because I can't remember what it was that we were gonna do, and that we wanted to like create, like we were gonna do like this event thing. I can't remember. It was a long time ago, and I was like, well, let's just make T-shirts. Everybody will sign up. We'll just do anything for a T-shirt. It's awesome, but like you're saying, it's just your mind is so much stronger than your body is. It's just talking your mind into doing it.
And they have that along the course. Like,
The
so
sayings.
Spartan sets up sayings along the course, and it'll say like the first half is your body and the second half is your mind.
Yeah.
And it's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a true statement.
Now, I've heard, I have an experience that you kind of like, when you beat your body to exhaustion, but when you can press through it mentally, that like you're over that hump and it doesn't make a difference anymore. Like you don't feel that exhaustion anymore. Is it almost like just running on adrenaline?
I think.
Yeah,
I think
there's
so.
definitely a big, I mean, especially when you go off a start line, obviously that's when you're fresh,
Yeah.
but there's a huge amount of adrenaline surging. They do this, the chant, you know, where you do your sayings and you yell your arus and then you're off over the start line. But I guess the sense of accomplishment in every obstacle that you challenge, because you know that's one less that you have to do, and they very kindly put mile markers along the route.
That's helpful.
And it feels so good every time you see another one. You think, okay, I've only got this many left to do.
Yeah.
So.
And I think you get an adrenaline rush. Like if you complete an obstacle, maybe one, like for me that I never completed before, and I get it, there's another adrenaline rush. So then I run even faster after that one.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, you feel
get
really
those-
good
you
when
feel
you
really good.
when you ring the bell.
Yep.
Yeah, when I hit the bell for climbing the rope, it was like nothing I had ever experienced. Like that feeling was nothing that I've ever experienced before. It was just, it was a lot. So, do you have any funny stories about running?
Ooh.
I asked because my race was quite comical, so I'm curious.
I don't know that I don't have any. I've heard funny stories, but I don't have any. No, I don't have any funny stories. I mean, I've seen people. I mean, when it's so muddy, I mean, people lose their shoes.
Yeah.
Because they just get stuck and your foot just comes right out. Luckily, it hasn't happened to me.
Yeah, then you've got to make sure you tie that thing tight and triple knot it, because
Yeah.
some of the race that we both ran in at Arrington in Virginia last year, it was so muddy.
Yeah.
And it literally just really was trying to suck your
Yeah.
shoe
Yeah.
off when you stepped in it.
Yeah.
But I mean, each race is different, and the conditions are so different.
Mhm.
And I last year I went down to Asheville in North Carolina, and
Yeah.
that was a really muddy one too.
Mhm.
And just in the festival ground, and Spartan had emailed us the day before and said, "Hey guys, you know, kind of weather warning. It's been raining here all week. Super muddy on the course. We've had to make some changes. Just be aware." So we we're coming to the festival ground. Thank God we're in 4-wheel drive, because that was your first mistake if you didn't show up in a car with 4-wheel drive. So many people were stuck in the fields. And then there were people who showed up wearing flip-flops, and it was like this deep mud.
Jeez.
So they gave up with the flip-flops and were just walking bare feet in the mud. And then there were people who brought their dog. Can you imagine
No.
putting that thing back in
In
the
your
car
car.
afterwards? Oh, and then as we left on day one, and there's a huge queue of people waiting to come in for their races because they're spanned out all across the day. And we were just driving past, and I was going to go, "You're not going to make it, you're not going to make it, you're not going to make it," because people just brought the stupidest cars to try and get in there. And they just got stuck in the mud as soon as they pulled in. So, yeah, definitely some comedy value there.
That's awesome. And you said Asheville, was it for the Super?
It was a super on Saturday and a sprint on Sunday.
That was, that Super in Asheville was my husband's first race.
Ah!
Yeah, back in 2015.
Was that muddy?
It was not a muddy day. So my funny story is, I was telling Kim before you got here that my husband does not believe in training for his races. He just does it. He does great, but he signed us up for the Fort Bragg Sprint and said it's in 3 weeks. I was like, that's no time to, and I had never done it. He had already done the Super, so he knew like what to expect, and I hadn't. And so I was like, oh my God, like kind of like freaking out, you know, like what am I gonna do? So I just hit the gym as hard as I could for those 3 weeks and hoped for the best, you know, just kind of crossed my fingers. So we get off the starting line and we're running, and not even a mile in, probably half a mile. Didn't even make it to our first obstacle, we'll put it that way.
Oh.
My foot slammed into like a little pothole, and I got this like jolt up the right side of my body, and I had a stitch in my side, and I couldn't run. And I was like, well, that's it. There goes my money. There goes my race and all this. My husband picked me up and carried me the entire length of the race.
Oh,
Put me down to do the obstacles and would pick me back because
Oh,
I couldn't
wow.
run. I'm sure I probably severely injured myself and didn't even know it. So he did. He carried me through the whole thing, and then we were still able to finish the race in less than an hour and a half.
That's crazy.
that's amazing.
I know.
My husband is a beast.
I said so chivalrous too.
Yes, that's true. There is a country though where they run a race where the men carry the women.
I saw that.
And their saying is, if you can't carry her, you can't marry her. There you go.
That's awesome. Well, we win, so
That's how you plan a proposal.
yeah, just propose at the finish line. Yeah, I mean, even because there was like on the course, there was this water obstacle. It wasn't like an obstacle; it was just a part. It just happened to be in nature. But like the water was up to his waist, and he had lifted me up like, and I was just like, oh my God! And you should see the pictures. All
Oh,
those
I bet
pictures,
they're
they're
great.
hilarious
Yeah.
because all of the pictures were of me in his arms or on his back, getting through the
amazing.
whole thing. So yes, I love him very much. We'll do it again, I'm sure. Okay, so tell me the difference between each of the 3 races, just so everybody can.
Okay, so the sprint is the shortest one, 3 to 5 miles. And then there's the super, which is 8 to 10 miles.
What the obstacles? How many obstacles? do you have?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably,
So the sprint is about 20.
yeah, about 20.
And then they maybe increase by 5 each.
Yeah, 25
Mm-hmm.
and then probably 30 plus in the Beast, which is 13 to 15 miles. And I mean, they range. I feel like sometimes they really do stuff a lot of obstacles in a sprint.
Yeah.
And like you said, sometimes there will be a long distance of just the running, and then there'll be lots of obstacles together.
Yeah.
It's not like they're nicely placed
No.
and equidistant. No. So yeah, the obstacles do go up, of course, with the length, but. Yeah, I feel like for me, I don't really worry so much about, how many obstacles will there be? It's the distance that I have to run.
Right.
Yeah. The running is the hard part.
Running
How
is
many
the
more
hardest
miles do I
part.
have to go this time?
I think like the difference like between the races and how many obstacles and stuff they put in, this is just the way that I picture it. So like the stadium, I would imagine, because that's not like a terrain, is there more obstacles for some place that's like that than versus somewhere like Asheville where you're pretty much just running through the mountains?
I would say there probably are less obstacles in the stadium because also the distance is less. It's only 2.5 miles, the stadium. But they have to be more creative with what they use as obstacles because you're not out in the wild. So they have things like box jumps, which you would never do in another Spartan race. They do a heavy jump rope. So the kind of rope that you might climb up, they have as a jump rope. They have that funny little thing where you put your feet on the little sort of trolley and you're in a plank position and you have to walk along.
Yeah, that one's
That'd be
funny.
good to add to our fitness routine.
And last year they had at the DC one, you were on a bike. And you had to bike a certain amount of calories, so it had the little computer on it, and you had to bike as fast as you could a certain amount of calories. They have to be, like she said, very creative.
Yeah.
In the stadium ones.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, we might just have to try it.
I
Yeah.
think so.
Yeah. It sounds like fun. It sounds very different than what
Very
I
different.
experienced.
Very different. I think
All the
thinking
steps.
about going, all the steps, going into that, to me, I think I'm a little more apprehensive about competitively racing that, but just because of the lack of space.
Yeah.
So if you get behind somebody,
You
it's
can't
not
pass
like,
them.
when you're out in a field, you can run alongside each other, but this, you're stuck. So getting behind somebody, not scraping yourself on a bleacher,
Yeah.
or something. So I think that's going to be a really challenging race.
Sometimes they have it like in the bleachers, they have it open so
You can take any row.
you can take any row, but you still have the risk of getting stuck behind somebody, and then you just have to make it up another way. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds tough. So, how do you train? Like, do you train daily? Do you train just several times a week?
Well, I guess right now I have 3 aspects to training. One is obviously running, because you have to be good at running. So making sure that you get outside, preferably on a trail, because you can't translate just running in the gym on a treadmill to, I'm going to take this out to a Spartan race. It's going to be 100%
because
different.
treadmills don't have potholes.
Right, exactly. There's leaves on the ground, there's roots, there's rocks, you're going to roll your ankles, so you've got to get outside and run, whether it's hot or cold. Lifting weights, because the 4 main aspects of training for the race, you're going to run, you're going to jump, you're going to climb, and you're going to crawl. So training with weights, we work a lot on our grip strength and our upper body strength because of obstacles like climbing the rope, doing the monkey bars, doing the multi-rig, which is the rings that you swing through.
I did not complete those, by the way. I did burpees for that one.
And you've got to be good at burpees, right?
Yeah.
We would love to go clear and do no burpees, but you have to be good at burpees because you're probably going to be doing 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, who knows? So you've got to be good at burpees too.
Yeah.
And then the latest thing that I've started doing to help improve with my grip strength is bouldering and rock
Oh,
climbing.
yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Is there a gym? Do you have that as a part of your gym?
Not in our gym. We go just down the road to Sport Rock, which is half a mile or something away from our gym, so it's perfect.
Sport Rock. We'll have to remember that and go there too. We just took the kids to Zaba Zone.
Oh, yeah.
Love that place.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, especially my son might be really good at doing the kid races because they watch like the whole like Ninja Warrior and things like that and parkour on YouTube. And it's funny because I think about do you watch The Office? Have you seen that TV show? Have you seen the one where they do parkour in the office? No, you should look it up. Do a YouTube search because it's hilarious, and that's what I think about every time we talk about it. But yeah, so I think you'd be really good at something like that as far as training. But you say the rock climbing and bouldering, that's awesome. That's a good idea.
The interesting thing about that is I said, okay, over the winter, I'm going to take a bit of a hiatus from running because I was just so over it by the time it came to fall. Last race was over, like I'm done with the running. I'm going to switch and I'll do rock climbing. Didn't really happen until my wonderful business partner and fiance said, hey, I've signed us up for a family membership at Sport Rock. This was this year. So we've started to go. And I also just this year joined Instagram because I decided I'm going to have my own sort of just Spartan profile. It's not going to be a social thing. It's going to be purely for the Spartan stuff. And I look at all of these elite races and they are all bouldering and rock climbing. So I know I'm doing the right thing because they're all doing it too.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is. It's a really great idea. Now, maybe tell us how it is that gripping in that in order to climb strengthens in the race. And what else can you do? I roll weights.
Yeah, even actually, and I saw this at a bouldering gym, there was a couple of guys with buckets of sand and they were just clenching the sand and they were actually using a timer to do it. So, you know, maybe like 20, 30 seconds and then they would rest and then they would go again. But anything like that where you're, and you can start with the easier routes where you have the really nice handhold where you can get your whole hand over it. And then as your grip improves and your forearm strength improves, you go to those more kind of little pinchy grips as the routes get tougher. And that translates so nicely into the race because we have the obstacles like the monkey bars. So that's a wide bar, think like a scaffolding pole. So you kind of hook your hand over, but then something like the multi-rig and Olympus too. Olympus is a slanted wall and it has 3 different things that you can use to hold on to get across it. Short chains, rock climbing grips, or there's holes cut out of the board that you can actually hook your hands into.
That one was
so and then there's the rings, the multi-rig, so like think the gymnastic rings that you hold on to. So there's so many different types of grip that you have to do as you're racing. So you can't just do pull-ups and think you're going to be okay, you know, because the pull-up bar is just one thing. So that's why we have to practice. In the gym, we have the 2-inch pipes, we have the wooden bowls.
Yes.
We have the little pitchy grip, we have the rope, so we have all different kind of things that we use for our rows.
And she
I'm
has
going
the rings that are all on the
rings.
multi-rig to actually start practicing those, so those help a lot.
Yeah, it's a big difference now. So where we used to run our business, we used to share a gym with another gym owner, and then at Thanksgiving last year we moved into our own space. And we built a rig in the little corridor in the gym. So now we have a rope hanging in there and we have the rings. So you can actually get real practice of doing that obstacle before you get to the race.
That's really awesome.
A lot because it's focused on the obstacle course for racing, that little area. So
Perfect. No, it is perfect.
Yeah.
Now, as far as for both of you, when you did your first race, was there a lot of training involved beforehand?
Not for me.
No, I think I was running. I made sure, because like the first one I ever did was a super, so I knew that I would have to be able to run 8 miles. So I did the running, but I don't think I really did anything much different in the gym.
I was
Not
just
that I
in the
recall.
gym, and like we were talking beforehand, I was just doing like some classes, and I wasn't running. I was just, I totally just was like, I'm gonna wing it.
Yeah.
Well, I did, and my husband does, and sometimes for some people it works, and for some people it just doesn't. What would be some advice that you would give to somebody who has interest but maybe not have done something like this before?
Run.
You gotta run, and if you want to start on the treadmill, that's fine. But at some point, you have to peel yourself away from the gym. You have to get outside.
Yeah.
And so therefore, you need to invest in some trail running shoes.
Yes.
Because you also can't wear your gym shoes outside.
I think I did that for the first race too.
I did for
Yeah.
for all my races. I ran 3 in 2015, and I just wore my regular gym shoes to be out on the course.
That's like such a difference also to have the trail running shoes in the races.
Yeah, something with some really good grip.
So I would recommend that as well.
Yeah.
Even if you're not, I mean, aside from the training, the shoes make a huge difference.
See, I think I might have even just ran mine because this is like pretty much all I wear, except for when I'm running. When I like, because I'll do like a pavement running. I do enjoy an occasional 5K. So I'll have, I think, what are mine? I have a pair of Asics that I wear to run outside, but anything else, I'm wearing my Converse.
Yes.
So, but no, this, you would not want to wear something like this out on the trail.
No. But also, when it comes to what you're wearing on your feet, it needs to be something that you've worn in.
Yeah.
So, week before the race, oh look, I got these new shoes, I'm going to wear them. No. You have to buy them in advance. You got to wear them in. And I mean, I know this, and that caught me out racing last year, because I went to get new trail shoes, got measured. The guy in the store said, oh, you're a size 10. What size are you wearing? I was like, 8.5. He said, you're wearing shoes much too small for you, no wonder your feet hurt. So I bought these size 10 shoes. I went out on the trail, I wore them, they felt good, and then I wore them in a race, and I wore them with the compression socks that I normally wear to race in, which are thin. Big shoe, thin sock, not good. 2 miles into the race, start having pain in my heels, feels like gravel is in the shoe. So I kept going. And, it's a 13-mile race. So 11 miles later, I limp across the finish line, and I took my shoes off, and I had created, like, the biggest blisters you can imagine on my heels that had then ripped open. So I was just running on the raw skin underneath. And I couldn't even walk properly for a week after that. I had to walk on my tiptoes because my heels were so badly injured. And I know don't wear new shoes in a race. It was the shoe and the sock combo together that was just
Yeah, because I love the compression socks, but they're very thin.
Yeah. So now I wear the compression socks and an extra sneaker sock in those shoes. Good to go. I could not wear the shoes after spending all that money on them. But yeah, as far as the training, so running is definitely important, but working on your upper body strength and your grip strength is really important. So if somebody was 100% new to working out and didn't know what to do in the gym, I would absolutely advise them to go find somewhere and someone to work out with, and take the guesswork out of it.
Yeah.
And take the possibility of injuring themselves out of it as well. Because there are so many places. I mean, we offer at our gym specific OCR training, but there are loads of great places in the area where someone can go and train on real obstacles. So we're kind of spoiled for choice in this area.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff here, and especially as far as like trainers go. So you have all these different kinds of gyms, but I've met so many different kinds of trainers that have all their own specialties too. So really, you can find, if you're looking hard enough, you can find exactly what it is that you need.
Yeah.
Now, as far as fueling yourselves for the race, so tell me, now I know a lot of people who carb load, but I feel like that, because you are, full and loaded, is not good for the obstacles. When people typically carb load, it's for like a marathon race. So what would you say would be the best way to fuel yourself before a race?
Well, interesting question. Yeah, we just had another perk at being Exco Strong and Fit. We just had a registered dietitian come in and give us a pre, during, and post-race nutrition seminar.
That's awesome.
So we did talk about carb loading. And we talked about, everyone kind of had their own methods of what they did for fueling prior to the race. So our nutritionist said that it was good to build a week out from the race and gradually increase your carbohydrates versus just having one huge meal of carbohydrates the day before. And she also was encouraging us to practice our race nutrition outside of racing.
Just like you train for a race, you should also try and train your nutrition and how you're going to eat prior to the race to see how your body handles all that.
Yeah, because it's drastically different than how you would typically be eating.
And how I'm going to handle that is different than Immie's going to be able to
Right.
handle that.
Yeah,
So we
because
have to figure that all out.
I think we got one of the best things that we got out of this seminar was that what we're doing is okay for us.
Right.
So she said, don't worry about what's the best thing to eat before a race, or what does this elite racer eat. What works for you? What works for your body? Because what Kim eats before a race might not work for me, and vice versa.
Right.
And I always eat the same thing before a race, and I ask, well, is this okay, or should I eat something different? And she said, if this works for you,
Right.
then stick with it. So, we had some great information about how it's okay to eat waffles and syrup.
I know.
Whoopie pies are okay. Eat a bowl of ice cream before you go to bed.
Okay, it's actually okay. And it depends on the length of the race too. So it's
It does.
different if you're running a sprint versus a super and a beast.
And a beast. Because you obviously you want to, in that week before, you want to increase your carbohydrates. That's where you get your energy from. Morning of the race, it's definitely difficult to eat, right? You feel nervous, you feel nauseous, you kind of have to force food down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to get hungry when you're out there. And then depending on the length of the race, you can use those energy blocks or the goos.
Yeah.
If you're thinking maybe of doing a super or a beast, so that you have that constant input of carbohydrates while you're racing.
Yeah.
And you don't just hit the deck.
So, explain to people who are listening what carb loading is, and about how I'm a really big on carbs, and especially we do weightlifting, and it's great, it's fantastic. We spend a lot of time in the gym, and Aubrey and I, and also doing other things like yoga and whatnot. So, but carbs are very important for anybody, period. So, but especially if you're somebody who works out, somebody who's training, and then somebody who's racing, why? Because people tend to stay away from. Oh, I don't want to take carbs in, and stuff like that. So explain the carb loading, why that, and why even just while you're training to make sure that you've got an adequate supply of carbohydrates in your diet.
Yeah, you're right. Carbs have a bad reputation. And because of things like the Atkins diet, and people know that people who followed that diet, they lost so much weight, and carbs are bad. But if you are, into working out, if you're any kind of athlete, if you're into sports, you know that carbohydrates, that's where we get our energy from. So you cannot cut carbohydrates and be successful at your sport. You have to eat carbohydrates, and the majority of your calories is coming from carbohydrates, because that's where we get the energy from. So when we eat carbohydrates, that energy is stored in our muscles. So the more muscle mass you have, then the more of those carbs you can store, and then the more is readily available to you when you are doing your sport or when you're racing.
Right.
So what I think is funny is, because of my figure, people look at me and think, oh, she doesn't eat anything. She probably just eats, salad or whatever. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I eat. I have to eat, because if I didn't, I couldn't perform at my sport.
Right.
So food is very, very important, and carbohydrates are king.
Right.
And to eat the carbs after.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, to build it all back up and make sure you're not depleted.
Yeah.
But there's a difference, and I try to tell people all the time, there's a difference between if they're so concerned about the carbs, your white bread versus your whole grain bread and all of that too.
So whole grain is
the best.
Yes.
And so is that something that you guys look for when you're in that week before your race?
Yes and no. And I think, because we were just mentioning the post race, you want the quick release. You want to replenish yourself as quick as possible, and that's when actually white bread would be much better for you than the brown bread, because you're going to get that quick release.
So for after,
Yeah.
I think prior to, I think I focus more on the whole grain bran before and after. Like you said, maybe not so much.
Yeah, and the good thing about that too is that with the whole grain stuff, you get more fiber.
Yeah.
So all of that food is moving through. Because of course, you said you don't want to feel really heavy and sluggish when it comes to race day. So having the added fiber is important as well.
And I think another thing that we had learned too prior to the race, like having some of those fats is not a bad thing either.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Fat has a really bad reputation, but
If
Carly
you're
literally
happy.
stood there and was
Yeah.
like, you need fat for every cell in your body.
Yeah.
So, but again, choosing the right kind, so not saturated fat, but we all know avocado, which thank God I absolutely love. So I'm happy to eat
Avocados
plenty
are
of that.
life. We talk about
Yes.
that all the time.
Avocados,
Avocado toast is just where it's at.
Olive oils, nuts, I love all of it. So it's
Not
good.
so much the bacon.
Yeah, not so much the bacon, but you know, everything in moderation.
Yeah.
That was the other thing we learned. There is a place in your diet for a whoopie pie. It's okay.
We choose to fill those holes with spicy chips.
Oh yeah, good choice.
Really like spicy, like Cheetos.
Yeah.
Yeah, spicy, like flaming hot Cheetos. Yeah, those
Those
are.
are like the weakness. I can eat kale all day, but sometimes you just need.
Well, and that's what she was saying too. Like you have to fulfill that, because if you just deprive, like that's not
It's
not
not
gonna
living.
work.
Miserable.
Yeah.
And it might work
It's just
for
not.
the short term, but not realistic for the long term,
It's
which is
not.
one of the, and I'm glad that you're saying this, because this is one of the points of why Aubrey and I have started this whole podcast, is because look at what you do. It's amazing. But you're telling us that yes, it's okay to eat the whoopie pie, and we want people to
And being
know
human,
that.
yeah.
It's human. So we are trying to help, our fellow women, and not just women, men too, but who are just coming into health and wellness and fitness to know that they don't have to have rock hard abs and be a size 0 and only eat salads all day long. It's okay to sit and eat spicy chips and Hershey bars. And we want It's a great combination. I know it sounds weird, but try it. Trust me, it's delicious.
I could see it, the sweet and the salty.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just so good.
I agree with you. I
So,
agree.
what is your favorite thing about running?
That's a funny question. in
I'll let you
itself.
answer that, because I don't know if I have a favorite thing about running.
Because some time ago I was back at the track, so this is another thing which people can consider if they're training. Don't just run on the trail, but get out to a track so that you can practice some tempo running, some sprints,
Yeah.
you know. And so I would run around the track, and my fiance was, every time I came around, how did that feel? I was like, it's good, run around. It's fine, run around. It's okay, run around. Next time he's like, how does that feel? I said, I don't know what you want me to say. I hate running. He said, you sure picked a funny sport to be into if you hate running. So I think I'm the same as Kim. I don't like running, but the improvements that we make in our training and running a distance that we've run before and running it faster or feeling better on that run, that's what keeps you going. And I've come in from a run just recently and looked at my watch and got the best time that I've seen yet this year. I'm just like, yes.
That's awesome.
And you just feel
You're on a
so
high from
good.
that.
Yeah. I guess that's the runner's high. So when they talk about runner's high, I'm like, no, I don't
Right.
have that. I don't like running. But the improvements, and I have to say, we were talking about food. I love food. And I know that some people eat to live, or I most certainly live to eat. And I love food. So if I run more, my metabolism is much higher, which means I need to eat more. This is a good thing.
Yeah.
So running, therefore, is good because I get to eat more food.
That's amazing that you say that like that, because there is such the stigma, and especially for runners too, about having to be so light, to be light on your feet in order to have that time. So to hear you say that's really awesome, because I also hate running, but I love running. So like I hate it, but I love it. There's just like, it gets to that point where when you get past that point of, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why did I do this today? Why did I leave, start and to, this is the best day of my life. I don't think I've ever been happier. Like, these are the things that I think about when I'm running. Look at the birds. I can hear the birds. I can see, the sky is blue, because that's how running makes me feel. Even though I also feel like I'm dying.
And
It's
just
like Spartan
like
Race,
every
really, isn't it?
mile that you get to when you start running outside versus if you started running on a treadmill, like you come to enjoy it while you're out. Sometimes you have to work up to it while you're inside. Do I want to go for the run? Do I not want to go for the run? Do I want to run? And then once you're out, And if you can see that improvement on your mile time, like sometimes I'll look at my watch and I'll be like, that mile was like quicker than my last mile, and I literally go like this. And then you keep going, and you keep going.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be, oh, I just ran for how long?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't expect to be out that long.
Right.
And then you'll want to go again in another day or so.
Mm-hmm.
And you
So-
don't think you like it, but
Yeah.
You just keep
do
doing it.
Yeah.
And it's good for people to know that this is what you guys do. But you're saying like this, the running, and you hate it, but you love it, and you're doing it anyway. That you don't necessarily have to like every aspect of what it is that you do, because it's about the bigger picture that you're saying with your time and constantly improving and bettering yourself. I wanted to ask, and you don't have to answer, about mile times. What is a good mile time for you?
So hers is gonna be different than mine because
Oh,
hers
absolutely.
dried, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when somebody is taller and has longer legs, or shorter and has shorter legs, all these things make a difference.
Yeah.
So it's very unique to each person. So for a group of women to get together and say, okay, let's go run a 7-minute mile, that's not going to happen for every single lady in that person in that group. So
that's something that, to be honest, starting hopefully today, I'll be paying more attention to, and I'll tell you why. I run with this watch, which I totally love, but it has no GPS on it. So therefore, when I go out, it's kind of a guesstimate of how far I've run. And this 100% overestimates what I've run. So we were on the way back from a run the other day, and my fiance said, what's your mile pace? And I said, oh, you don't want to pay any attention to that because it overestimates how far I run. Oh, just go on, just tell me. So I looked up and I was like, 7 minutes 52. He goes, oh, get out. Because it said I'd run 7 miles when really we'd only run about 5. So for my birthday, which was last weekend, he bought me this nice swanky Garmin watch with GPS. So from now on, I will be paying close attention to what my pace is. And so it's difficult to kind of say what's good also in terms of terrain. Because running on the flat, you're going to get something much faster than if you start to add this into it. And that's I try to run on this. I try to be as close to what it's going to be like in the race as possible. And it feels just really, really, really slow going up and wee on the way down. But I'm looking forward to having a good sort of metric now to base that off and see improvements moving forwards.
And then there's also, your pace is going to be a lot different if you are a treadmill runner.
That's true. The good thing about the treadmill, and I was that weekend when I actually couldn't run the Spartan race, I had to go and work. After I'd finished working on the Saturday, I texted my fiance and said, I'm going to get on the treadmill and I'm going to run a 6-minute mile. And he goes, why don't you just try a quarter of a mile at the 6-minute mile pace and see how you feel? Okay. So I warmed up for a quarter of a mile and then I'm running. I was like, oh my God, thank God he said quarter of a mile. Because then after the quarter of a mile, I brought it down, I jogged for a bit, and I was like, okay, I'll do it again. So I did it 4 times. I did my 6-minute mile, but just in 4 sections. And the treadmill is good for that. And I like that over really anything else because that belt is going and you just got to keep going. I love those new treadmills which have the curve in them.
Oh, the one you power yourself. They're not motorized.
I really like those, but it's too easy to slow down and stop on them. Whereas the other one, and I know you can technically just hop off it. I don't do that. I just keep running. So I do like the treadmill for that because it really keeps you going.
So I can't run inside. So we'll go for like 20, 30 minutes at a time. We'll do our cardio when we work out. But I really dislike the treadmill because I get so bored.
Same.
And I don't listen to music. And I've said that now several times on the podcast. People are starting to think I'm a little strange. I prefer to listen to like other podcasts or books or whatever when I'm running. It's just more interesting to me. Keeps my mind off of things. But you can only do it for so long before everything starts wah, wah, wah. So when I'm outside running, and you get to see like all the other people that are out, and you know, you get to hear the birds and things like that, or take a new route and see different things like that. I could run forever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I always
so-
have to have music.
Yeah.
That makes me run
I find that's
faster.
the
Me too,
majority
'cause
of
I know-
people say that.
Yeah, like a specific playlist or something. I
Same.
know this song, and
Yeah.
when it like speeds up, or
Yes.
the beat hits or
And
something,
sometimes,
you know,
like if
and
I'm
then
not
I go
running
faster.
on the road, I try and keep that pace of the beat of the music, and then, yeah,
Yeah.
that helps me.
Mhm.
But you have to find what works
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I can't keep up with the beat, but that makes you drive a little bit more
Yeah.
than.
Yeah, and I think it's more along the lines of it helps me not think about what I'm doing physically.
Yeah.
So, like, again, taking the mind and the body separate, your mind can do so much more than your body can. So now my mind is not paying attention to what my legs are doing. And, well, I mean, to an extent. And so I feel like I can run better that way.
Yeah. Well, running has gotten for me to be just such a mental
Yeah.
release too.
Mhm.
You know, it's great for your body, but it's so great for your mind too.
Yeah,
let
it
it
really
go.
is.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so before we sign off, this has been so amazing. Like, I've learned a lot, and I feel inspired to run a race this year, or two,
Good.
or 20.
All three, trifecta at least,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So tell us, do you have any like last little bits of information, any sort of thing you might want to take on the course? Somebody might mentally want to take on the course with them.
Well, actually, when I joined the pro team, they sent out a list of questions, and one of them was, "What is your mantra when running?" And this is actually something that my fiance has said to me time and time again, and now it's kind of solidified, and it's what I'm thinking about when I'm running. Find another gear. So find a way to push harder than you're
Yeah.
already pushing, because although we've talked about, you know, how strong your mind can be when you feel like your body is failing, it can be the other way around. And I know my body is capable, but it's up here that the weakness is. And I'm starting to think, oh, I can't do this, or I can't keep running, or I can't keep running up this hill. So just making sure that you stay sort of dialed in and strong in your mind, and find another gear, like find a way to keep pushing and go faster, or keep running instead of walking.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I hadn't thought about it that way. I like that.
Yeah. I think going along those same lines is just to go into it trying to have as much of a positive attitude as you can just to get through it, and think, especially if it's your first race, like just I want to finish it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just want to complete it. No, I might not finish every obstacle. If it's your first one, you most likely you won't finish every obstacle, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just know that once you cross the finish line, you did it.
And
that is
such
a win.
The boost, the confidence, and
Like the
all
fact
of
that
that.
you did it
Yeah.
is amazing.
And that's the whole kind of rationale behind the races too. Joe DeCina, who is the creator of Spartan Race, he first and foremost wants to get people off their couches. Like, get off your couch, don't sit down, be it the morning or the evening, get up and get physically active and train for a race. And then the second part is face these obstacles, because our journey through life is all about facing obstacles, be it I lost my job, I went through a divorce, my child is sick. We face these life obstacles all the time. So yeah, it's not easy, and we have to face it in life. So get out on the course, face these other physical obstacles, and it will make translating into facing the other obstacles in your life better, because you have more of that mental fortitude, and you know you can do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's awesome. I thought of another question. I do it all the time. Do you have a favorite obstacle?
Oh. Well, the beer tent. No, I'm joking. That was another question that Spartan asked us. What's your favorite obstacle? And Kim's husband Chris said you should put the beer tent down. Favorite obstacle? I honestly don't feel like I do. It's more the things that you least want to do over the things you're like, oh yay, it's the bucket or something. Like what's I don't know, what is your favorite obstacle?
My favorite obstacle.
The fire jump.
Yeah,
It's right at
the
the
very
end, right?
Right at the
Well,
very
All
end.
you have to do is
badass.
jump over that sucker and you're done.
I guess it sounds funny, but I don't mind. But I think it's kind of the dump wall.
Oh, really? That used to be my least favorite obstacle. I hated that thing because
I
it would
don't mind.
the panic of having to go on. Yeah, I really
Well,
didn't like
I
it.
think I'm so short that I can actually get away. I don't have to get my face completely. But I don't mind that one.
Yeah, I think I tend to think about ones that I don't like so much versus the ones I do. But I think fire jump is good because it's always at the
Yeah.
end. You
Yeah,
jump
it
over the fire and you're home.
And it's a badass picture.
That is
That's
true.
a good picture
Yeah,
too.
that's true.
So
The dump wall is always a really bad picture.
Those have good comedy value.
I didn't appreciate how on Fort Bragg when I did mine, they did with the net you had to climb over
the cargo,
the
yeah.
cargo net right on the side of like a cliff,
Oh.
and
I wouldn't like
so it was like.
Because it's already high.
So it's like here, and the drop off was like
Kim's
here.
worst nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of heights.
So
That's
am
like
I.
my thing. And
Yeah.
there was a drill sergeant at the top sitting, like straddling the thing, yelling at me the whole time. And I'm like, you're yelling, and I'm scared, and I don't know what to do right now.
That was
But, but I did it. So
Good. See? And
that
you
was,
did it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the rock buckets. And I was really upset. I say upset because there's a girl bucket and a boy bucket.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to carry the boy bucket because I don't want to carry the girl bucket. And I was like, oh God, this was a mistake. Just give me the smaller bucket, please.
That's a lot of people's definitely least favorite.
Yeah, bucket brigade. Because
The
sometimes
bucket
they're
brigade.
so long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one
Sometimes
wasn't very
it's just a
long.
little
And they don't
short.
let you, now they have them pre-filled.
Yeah, you don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you used to
Oh,
scrape
yeah.
the stones in,
Yeah.
but now they pre-fill them, which is good because they used to send people back if they hadn't filled it up enough.
Yeah.
Now
And
they're
sometimes
worried
send them
about
back
that.
multiple times. So
Well, it'll be good for your time too, that you're not sitting there trying
Yeah,
to fill
that's
your
true.
bucket. Yeah, ours wasn't very long, but it was all uphill. So,
Yeah.
fun times.
yeah. So I'm definitely doing it again this year, and Aubrey will do it with me. We'll start small, and I'm sure we'll see you guys there.
Excellent.
Yeah, we will be at that May 11th.
We'll be at the stadium one and the other DC one.
Oh yeah, that one's really close to Mechanicsville.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'll probably send you a message ask for like the names, like the information, so make sure to find them and do them.
Yeah. And if people are interested in running the races, they should know never to pay full price, right?
Right.
There are always
There's always-
discounts out there.
Yeah, so you can
Oh.
sign up for the emails at Spartan.com
Yeah.
and just get on the list.
And the
They always
stadium one
send it,
is on Groupon right now.
So
Oh,
if
that's
you
true.
do Groupon, just know you're going to get a later
Yeah,
heat.
it's going to be in the afternoon.
It's going to be an
And
afternoon.
it's going to be hotter.
And it's going to be hotter.
It will be. But you should never pay full price for a Spartan.
Mhm.
Sorry, Spartan, but
Yeah.
it's true. I have
It's
my
good,
own.
it's good to know though, because I feel that's sometimes a deterrent for people.
Yeah,
Because they can get quite
it can get
pricey.
pricey. If you wait until close to
Yeah.
the race, the
Yeah.
price has gone up. But I actually have my own, I'm a Spartan SGX coach, and so I have my own discount code that I can give people to get them 15% off.
Yeah,
so.
that would be awesome. I can put that down when I sign all your other information. So I'm going to link down below all clickable links to be able to get a hold of Immie and see her just awesomeness. And hopefully there will be pictures of both of us in her gym and together at the races very soon. So any contact information will be all linked down below and everything, and I'll put that down there too. So that'll be really awesome. So thank you so much for coming. This has been a blast for sure. You guys are badasses.
Thank you for having
Beasts.
us.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you,
for having us.
beasts. Yeah.